I was born in Richmond, Virginia.
Still reside there today?
Not actually. I live in North Carolina. I've been living there since I was like 14 years old.
And what city in North Carolina?
Goldsboro, North Carolina.
And how old were you when you made that move?
When I moved to Goldsboro, I was 14.
14 years old.
Yeah, 14.
And what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, my granddaddy and my grandma, they had moved from Virginia like 2 years prior. So I mean, eventually my mother, she just wanted to move too and start over and get out of the little town that I lived in.
Do you have any family today still in Richmond?
Yeah, all my family live in Blackstone, Virginia.
How far is that from Richmond?
40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Okay. And how often do you go back to Virginia?
I
These
try to
days.
go back to Virginia at least like twice, 3 times a year or something like that.
Now, when it comes to Goldsboro,
Yeah, Goldsboro.
Yeah. North Carolina,
Yeah.
If somebody's not familiar with that city, how far is that from, let's say, Charlotte?
Goldsboro is about 4 hours from Charlotte.
Okay.
And it's like an hour from Raleigh, 50 minutes from Raleigh.
Now, is it a certain part you represent of Goldsboro or Richmond?
I represent the whole city of Goldsboro, but I lived in Webbtown.
Now, growing up in Richmond, growing up in Goldsboro, what was that like for you? Can you paint that picture for us?
Well, Richmond was where I was born at. Growing up in Blackstone, Virginia, small town. It's not really that many people. I mean, it's a lot of people, but so I mean, basically everybody know each other's business. You know what I'm saying? And then I moved to Newport News, Virginia, and I kind of got the city feeling. You know what I'm saying? Being in an environment with a whole bunch of people. So after that, I moved back to Blackstone, Virginia, and then I made the transition to North Carolina, and it was different.
Explain.
Well, because I mean, when I was living in Newport News, I wasn't really that old to know too much. And when I was living in Blackstone, I was just, starting to become out of adolescence, so, but when I moved to Goldsboro, it was different because the poverty is tremendous. Like it's beyond measurement. It actually got ranked as, if I'm not mistaken, the 6th or 5th poorest city in the United States of America. So I mean, it's a lot to say where that come from.
Now, you were born in Richmond, but start growing up in Blackstone. What age were you when you actually did that move there?
So basically, when you live in Blackstone, when you're born, you can basically there's no hospital in Blackstone. You know what I'm saying? So you basically got to go 45 or 30 minutes out. So you can either be born in Farmville or you can be born in Richmond, MCV.
Now, you mentioned poverty. Does that mean you grew up in poverty yourself?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Facts. I'm not gonna say that I had the worst life ever, you know what I'm saying? But everything was, going swell up until like the age of, really when I got to Goldsboro. That's when everything really changed, and I started seeing, my family and all of us go to a different level than we had been on previously.
And what level financially did you go from poverty? Because there's lower middle class, there's middle class, there's upper middle class, there's wealthy.
Lower class. Lower class, you know what I'm saying? Well, actually, when I first moved to Goldsboro, we was living in the okay area, but it wasn't, we lived like right down the street from the projects, like probably like 4 blocks away. So we lived in the okay area with the houses, but all the kids from the projects were still in our neighborhood. So, I mean, it was the hood, regardless of what they call it,
When you did live in poverty conditions, how did this affect you growing up?
Basically not being able to just get, get where everybody else get, I had to make a way for myself. Like my grandma and my mother, my grandpa, they did everything they could, the best they could. So me growing up with it, I really knew what we was going through, but I really didn't understand it until I got older.
What was the biggest obstacle you faced money-wise?
Money-wise, being young or
In poverty.
older? In poverty, lights got cut off, the water got cut off. That's that's the biggest. And then, getting released from a house, you know what I'm saying, and having to go find another place to stay, live with my mother, me and my grandpa, and all us lived in one house actually at one point in time. It was like 10 people in a 3-bedroom house.
What were the living arrangements like?
As far as
when it was 10 people in a 3-bedroom?
Basically, I had a bedroom. My grandma and my grandpa, they slept in the living room. My mother and my step-pops, they slept in the other room, and then my other 4 brothers, they slept in another room with bunk beds, regular beds.
How'd you get your own room?
Basically because I stayed with my grandma and my grandpa the whole time. Like, I never had moved out of their sight, basically. So, you know what I'm saying, my mother and them, everybody, all us basically moved in the same house when everything just went bad.
When the lights get cut off, what happens?
Somebody got to get it, you know what I'm saying? And, I mean, I used to be a very valuable part of helping, you know what I'm saying, them get it.
When the water gets cut off, what happens?
When the water gets, hey, you ain't got nothing to drink, nothing. You can't take a shower. You know what I'm saying? You can't, it's really just you in the house. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no drinking no water, ain't no cleansing yourself at all.
What's the most either of that lasted for?
I say the lights, no water thing, I think that lasted probably about like 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that.
Both off at the same time?
Yeah, it was off at the same time, everything.
That's tough.
Yeah, real talk, it got to that point, so. I mean, my grandfather, he was, waiting to get some type of, it's not retirement, I can't remember what it's called when you get hurt at work. I think he was trying to
disability?
Yeah, he was trying to get disability, and man, the disability took
or workers' compensation?
No, it was disability.
Okay.
Because my grandpa had got real sick, and I think it ended up taking like almost 2.5 years just to get the disability. You know what I'm saying? That was a huge effect because my grandfather was like the core of the family. You know what I'm saying? He was the one that was, paying all the bills.
Growing up in the poverty conditions, because there was a time where you were able to go to a higher financial class than that.
Thanks.
What did that teach you? What did you learn from the poverty stuff?
I basically learned not to be selfish and not to take anything for granted. Basically, that's really not to take anything for granted. Stuff can be here one day and gone the next day. You can be rich one day, you can be broke the next day.
How was your family able to get out of poverty and move to the higher financial bracket?
You feel me? My peoples, they still live like in the neighborhood. So I mean, but they're doing better than ever actually. So. It isn't like it was. My grandmother and my grandfather, they actually died, so, yeah.
How did they pass?
They both were sick. They both died like a year after each other.
Was that as far as deaths in your life, was that the one that impacted you the most?
Yeah, both of them, actually, because I mean, that's who raised me. My grandma and my grandfather raised me. My mama was there sometimes, but my grandma and my grandfather is the ones who corely raised me.
And this is on your mom's side?
Yeah, this is my mom's family.
How did you hear about them each passing?
My grandmother, well, we actually was on the way to the T-Mobile store. And we was in the car together. We were supposed to go to IHOP, and we started at T-Mobile first because I think I had to get a new phone. And we went to the T-Mobile store. I was taking a long time in there, and my brother came in the store like, "Hey, Grandma said she ain't feeling good." she might need to go to the hospital. And that's like, you know what I'm saying? My grandma don't normally just say she going to the hospital. You know, if you know older folks, they don't really like the hospital like that. So she said she had to go to the hospital. She just said, matter of fact, my brother was just gonna take her to the house. So my brother went ahead and took her to the house while I stayed in the T-Mobile store. And from there, she went to the hospital and she never come back home.
Did you find out why she passed away? I mean, you said she was sick, but was there a specific reason?
They said, if I'm not mistaken, man, this is no lie. They said my grandma in the past year, she had over 100 and some strokes, and she made it. She still made it to the point that she was at up till she died. So they couldn't even understand how she made it as long as she did because of all the strokes that she had.
Your grandfather passes after her?
Yeah, my grandfather passed probably like a year and a half after her. And he was the one that was sick. That's what's the crazy thing about it. My grandfather was sick. Like I told you, earlier that he was waiting to get
disability.
Yeah, disability, compensation from that. So he had already been sick. My grandmother, it was kind of unexpected. You know what I'm saying? So my grandfather, he died like a year and a half after that. I had already moved. I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. And I was coming back and forth seeing him, and he was getting sicker. And it just, hey, you know what happened?
And do you actually find out the reason with his passing?
Yeah, I think my grandpa had lung cancer.
They found it late? They caught it late, like in a late stage?
They had caught it early at one point in time, and then, like, I don't know what happened after that. But if you ask me, I think chemo took him out. Because my grandfather, like, while he had it, he was still, you know what I'm saying, he was still moving around and stuff. Then it seemed like once he got into chemo, like his skin just started getting darker, started getting more clammier, you know what I'm saying? So it just, to me, it seemed like the chemo was deteriorating him.
Now, was your grandfather a smoker?
I actually did. I ain't even gonna lie. My grandpa smoked a pack of Baileys right now. Whole pack of Baileys, man, all day long.
Because you actually seen this happen to your grandfather, do you treat smoking different in your life because that's how he passed? Or contributed to his passing?
Yeah, well, I can say that. I mean, I smoke marijuana, you know what I'm saying? But I don't smoke cigarettes at all. I never could get into them, ever.
But you are still smoking nonetheless?
Yeah, I still smoke.
So, using your lungs, things of that nature. But
yeah.
Tobacco product when you smoke?
Sometimes. And sometimes I might hit a bowl or something, you know what I'm saying?
But when he passed away, that didn't deter you from smoking at all?
I mean, when he died, I was in another world. So, I mean, I smoked a lot. I smoked even more, you know what I'm saying?
How did you find out about his passing?
It's crazy because I was up in Raleigh where I live at, and I got a phone call because he was already in the hospital, but I got a phone call like he just passed out, like he fell and he just passed out. So when I got the phone call, they was basically saying like it wasn't like any other time. So I hauled ass and hit the road, you know what I'm saying? And on my way down there, it's crazy because like a car did like a 360 in the middle of the road, like hydroplane right in front of me, like 360 in the middle of the road on my way down there. And it was just weird. Like I slammed on brakes, I moved, kept going, you know what I'm saying? And I got down there and that was about it, man. He died later on.
Do you actually see him pass away?
Yeah, I actually did. Him and my grandmother.
Like they
basically put him on life support.
You
know what I'm saying? And they'll let you know they take you off life support, et cetera, et cetera. And we was basically there.
And you actually witnessed them taking them off life support and?
Yeah, actually, well, my grandfather, yeah, but actually both of them. I seen both of them after they was off life support just sitting there breathing their last breaths and, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, you can be in there, they be like, hey, I mean, that's it. You can, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Respectfully, I ask you this next question. What was that like seeing that?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of like, like basically when they tell you, you kind of don't want to believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to believe that what's happening is happening, but you already kind of know like what it's building up to be. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I'm mentally and emotionally getting myself together as it's already happening. You know what I'm saying? I shed, you know, I ain't gonna lie. I stepped out. You know what I'm saying? Shed a few tears. You know what I'm saying? You know, I asked my mama 1,000 questions like, "Is you sure?" You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. I just was asking a whole bunch of questions. You know what I'm saying? And I got myself together, man, and just try to just. I know my grandfather. He'll want me to stay strong, so that's what I did, man.
But you have a chance not to see this if you don't want to.
Facts.
But you actually see it.
Yeah,
Why?
I had to. I felt like it was on the right. I felt like if it was me and on the other end of the bed, I feel like they'd be in there to comfort me with my last breath. So I had to be there.
Now, with your grandmother's side of the sickness with the strokes and stuff like that, does that run in your family? Do you think you could be prone to this stuff?
The only thing that I heard so far that runs in my family is diabetes, but you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be a generation curse breaker, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know, I ain't gonna say I'm the healthiest, but I'm trying to get into that, whatever I need to do, you know what I'm saying, basically.
But so far, so good. You haven't contracted
No,
that.
not at all.
Now, you attend both funerals?
Yeah, both of them. Front row. Both of them.
How did you cope since their deaths? How'd you do it? If you've done it. Some people don't cope.
Probably, as give me an example of coping, you know what I'm saying?
Well, some people, they come to terms with it and they cope with it. They
Just deal with it?
Yeah, they deal with it and they move on, respectively. But then some people, they don't know how to deal with it, don't know how to cope with it, and it's still an issue with them today.
Facts. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie like I don't still deal with it today. You know what I'm saying? Because it can be a sign or something that, you know what I'm saying, one of them used to do or a scent that I might catch and, you know what I'm saying, and it might just get to me real quick. But I don't let it bother me that much. I just know that, you know what I'm saying, they're around. You know what I'm saying? Their spirits is still around.
Ever saw a counselor or a therapy for these deaths? No,
never. Never, man. I never seen a counselor for none of the things that I've been through.
Feel like you need one?
I'm not gonna say I don't need one, because I think, you know, everybody needs somebody to talk to sometimes about some issues that they have going on in their life. But I mean, I probably could. For the things that I've been through is abnormal, so I probably would need to talk to somebody, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I'm okay. I'm not gonna lash out and go crazy or nothing like that. But I mean, to talk to somebody, you know, tell them how I really feel, yeah.
You would be open to that?
Yeah, hey, they a human being. That's their job. They know what they're doing.
Someone going through this themselves, losing their grandparents, especially grandparents that helped raise them. Anything you would say to somebody maybe going through a similar circumstance, watching this interview, hearing your story?
If you lost some grandparents, you know what I'm saying. Only thing I can tell you to do, man, is just pray, and you know, get some alone time to yourself. And just, you know, you can think, but don't think too hard. And hey, just pray to God you get through it, man, and just be what they will want you to be.
What do you miss the most about either of them?
The comfort. I'm not gonna lie, probably the comfort, man, because I mean I done lost a lot of people, a lot of homeboys, a lot of everything, and my grandmother and my grandfather was around when I lost most of them. You know what I'm saying? So. And one of my best friends had just died. Had died actually 6 months prior to my grandmother passing. My best friend got killed.
How?
He got shot 5 times, I think.
Do you have a favorite memory of your grandmother or your grandfather you could share with us today?
I think my grandpa, when I come in the house one day and he like, no, matter of fact, I take that back. Cause you know what I'm saying, like I really do this music thing, so like I'm a musician first. I know how to play the drums, whatever. I used to be in a band, all type of stuff. So I remember one time, like my grandma was a preacher, so we grew up in the churches. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the churches, and I remember one time, and my grandfather played the guitar. So I remember one time we was in church, and I had kind of advanced my skills in playing the drums. Like my grandfather still could play, you know what I'm saying? But I was on a different level of playing the drums than he used to, cause he used to play like quartet music. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of, if you know what that is, then you understand what I'm saying. So I'm playing the drums like Ty Tribbett and them, you know what I'm saying? So I remember I was in church and I was basically playing the drums, overpowering him. And my grandpa, he got up and he told me to get off the drums, man. He told me to get off the drums. I was mad, man. I hopped out the drums, threw the sticks. I think I did some of everything, man. I think that hurt me, man. I think I started crying and everything. Cause my grandpa, he was a real good bass guitar player, man. For him to just tell me, I was like, man, he don't know what he talking about, man. You know what I'm saying? I know how to play this, man. He don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? I was just, but you know, it's my grandfather. So at the end of the day, it was all love. I was mad for a little bit, but I was okay.
What age were you when your grandparents passed away? Do you remember, or what grade you were in?
I was out of school.
Oh.
Yeah, I was out of school. So I probably was 20, let's see. I was 26, I think, when my grandmother died. And I think I was 27 when my grandfather died.
So did they see the rap career side of you?
Yeah, they actually, they supported. My grandmother, she was a preacher, you know what I'm saying? She don't really like all the cursing and stuff, but she always supported me, you know what I'm saying? And actually, when we were younger, my grandfather, he had this little outhouse in the back of the house, and he really basically set it up for me to have a studio. And I used to get everybody from high school to come to my house. Everybody wanted to come to my house and do music all the time. Everybody that did music, they came to my house. Everybody from the hood, like everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it wasn't a secret.
What do you think they would think of where you're at today with your music career at this point?
I think they'll be amazed, because, I mean, it's a song that I got out right now that I had. My grandmother was already dead. I say R.I.P. Grandma, I'ma make it. And the song is called Make It. And in the song, you know what I'm saying, I'm really shouting out to my relatives, everybody that want me to make it. My grandfather was still alive when I first made the song. And you know what I'm saying, he told me one day, he was like, you made it, didn't you? I'm like, nah, I ain't quite there yet, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm almost there. He was like, nah, you made it. I'm like, so, I'm like, okay, that's cool, boom. I got the song, and that's probably the strongest thing right now going for me. That's the strongest single that I got right now. Almost 50,000 views on YouTube.
Have you made a song about them?
Probably Make It. That's the song that I'm talking about. I mean, not just for them, you know what I'm saying, but Make It is the song that I'm really expressing my feeling about everybody that want me to make it.
I see. Did you shoot a music video to that?
Yeah, I actually shot a video in Atlanta. It's featuring my homeboy World General.
And just curious, you mentioned religion here. You mentioned church. Care to share what religion this was?
Pentecostal.
Just curious. Now, you experienced several deaths. That was the most impactful at this point in your life. But when it came to back to the financial side of things, of how things were played out in your life, when it came to poverty and it came to, I remember you saying you had to figure out a way or find a way.
Yeah.
Especially when the lights and the water got cut off.
Facts.
Are we talking the job route, or are we talking hustling in the streets and some sort of street activity here?
Well, I mean, I used to do a little hustling since I was in high school, you know what I'm saying? Dipping there. You know what I'm saying? When I got out of high school, I had a job. I got a job at RadioShack. Actually, I take that back. I had a job at Sam's Club working, doing a little samples, making little samples for people to eat. And then I actually met the manager at the cell phone kiosk, and me and him was talking one day, chopping it up. He's like, man, you want a job? I'm like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? So he gave me a job. I had 2 jobs. And then I just quit the little sampling job and did the RadioShack. And the company was through RadioShack. Then I eventually got with RadioShack. And I stayed with them for like 3 years or something like that.
And what was your role there?
At one point in time, I had got up to assistant manager. I thought they was gonna give me a store, man, but they tried to play me, man, for real. They really tried to play me. Like, I'm talking about, like, people inside. The corporate world, man, it's just like the streets, but it's on a different level. You know what I'm saying? Because it was people in there that had people doing certain things for them, and then, you know what I'm saying, that when it all washed down the hill, they got the police and, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's crazy, man. I had a job, though. That was the only job that I had. I had a job to work at Bojangles. One day, I went in there, seen how them people was in there making that food, man, the line long. I'm just looking at them like, man, ain't no way in hell I'm about to come back in here and work. I'm gonna tell you, it's over. That's my word. I got my name tag. It was over. I ain't never come back. They was like, can you please just return the name tag? I'm like, damn, what they need the name tag for? It's my damn name. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never go back in that motherfucker though. My homeboy, he stayed in there a couple weeks. Every day I used to see him, I said, boy, how they doing you in there? He like, whew, they slaving me in there. Boy, I said, yeah, they won't slave me. You know what I'm saying? So after that, like, I had a little RadioShack job, and then some things went left with that, and I was still in the streets while I was working for RadioShack. You know what I'm saying? That's really how I moved. That's really how I moved up in the ranks of being an assistant manager, because I was selling so many phones. I know almost everybody in Goldsboro. You know what I'm saying? I live by the hood, so everybody just knew to come to me and get phones. I was selling more phones than anybody in the whole company down there.
Why were the police involved?
Man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. They try to put something on me. They try to say that I was stealing cell phones and selling them. They say I was taking the cell phones out the truck or whatever, but I knew I wasn't doing that. You know what I'm saying? And I was at home. They told me, so basically the district manager, he come down. He like, hey man, they're gonna come in here, man. What you want to do? I was like, shit, I ain't doing nothing. He said, man, I'm gonna give you a choice, man. You can just go or wait for them to come. I'm like, man, I'm out, man. I'm like, shit, I ain't did shit though. I'm saying, he said, man, they got something on me. I'm like, I done did a couple of things, but I'm like, then they got something on me, you know what I'm saying? So, but I know, like, how smart I was with computers, that I cover everything if I did anything. You know what I'm saying? So, boom, I left. I say, 6 months passed. I'm in the bedroom. Now, man, I'm fully in the streets at this time. 6 months passed. I'm in the bedroom. I got probably like 3 peas in the closet. No cap. I hear a knock at the door. It's early in the morning. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? My grandma alive at this point in time. And I'm like, my grandma normally knock and just walk in, but they just knock. I'm like, hell. I'm like, who is it? They're like, Goldsboro Police Department. I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck? I'm thinking it's a raid, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking it's a damn raid or some shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So boom, I done jumped up. They're like, you work at RadioShack? Then that shit just hit me. I'm like, RadioShack, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, I work at RadioShack. It's like, you gotta come downtown with us. Get downtown, they done hit me with the felonies for larceny. And I'm like, man, this shit crazy as hell.
What ended up happening with that?
Yo, craziest thing about it is...
That case is over with?
The case is closed. The case got closed probably for the... Yo, you wouldn't believe this shit. The case probably got closed before it even damn started. Because I already knew for a fact the shit they said I did, I knew I didn't do. You know what I'm saying? I knew I didn't do that. So boom, the person who I thought was on my side is the district manager. Me and him was cool, you feel me? I done been to his house, got drunk, barbecue, everything, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking we cool, whatever. But his name is the person who, I guess, put it on, you know what I'm saying? I guess he wrote the statement that I did is, you know what I'm saying? But see, man, God don't like ugly, man. I say probably like 3 months after they came to my house, I called one of the managers in a different city and asked him like, have you know what I'm saying, heard what was going on with me? Well, what happened to me, how the police came to my house and said I had did this fraudulent shit, whatever. And he was like, nah, he was like, you heard about the district manager? I'm like, nah, what happened? He like, shit, man, they caught them boys up in a million, like, it was like a $50 or $30 million mortgage fraud scheme in Raleigh. They caught him with so basically when they locked him up for that, my whole case offset, you know what I'm saying? Because he got locked up, so it was over.
Now, were any of those jobs that you mentioned tough?
As far as what, labor?
Well, you mentioned like 3 jobs here. Were any of them tough? I mean, even though Bojangles was a day, the RadioShack stuff, and then you mentioned the Sam's Clubs.
Yeah, and I was working at Coca-Cola too. And matter of fact, I worked at this was when I moved to Raleigh. I started working at the airport, working for FedEx. That's probably the toughest job I ever had in my life. That's the toughest job I had in my life.
Why?
The physical labor, like running, like, man, you really like toting like heavy, like we was taking the stuff out the planes. We was taking on the big crates that they call them USDs. As soon as they come out the plane, we was dragging them. I say probably about 100 yards. We gotta drag them. They got little things they roll on, but you still gotta drag them all the way down to the bottom to the conveyor belt, and then you gotta unload them. Then when you unload them, you gotta go to the other side, and then you gotta reload them. So then you gotta sort them, then you gotta reload them. So that job right there was just non-stop, I lost about damn 20 pounds in like, shit, probably about 2 weeks or something.
Now, what was your role with Coca-Cola?
I mean, at Coca-Cola, man, they had me riding around. Basically going from store. I was riding with somebody that had a little route, and I was going from store to store, just basically putting the sodas and stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Just putting sodas and stuff up on the shelf.
And did you say something between Coca-Cola and FedEx?
No, just those two.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and damn, I forgot, man. When I got to Raleigh, I had caked up on some jobs. I forgot I had worked at Best Buy too, but they got me up out of there. It was over, cause I cussed out somebody.
What was your role there?
Just the sales. I was always good at sales. You know what I'm saying? I could bust a sale right now.
These jobs, you quit these jobs, got fired from these jobs. Obviously, we saw what happened with RadioShack and Best Buy, but what about the other gigs?
The other jobs, man, FedEx, I wasn't stunting all that physical labor at all. What else her name?
Sam's Club?
Sam's Club, well, that was basically with the RadioShack. You know what I'm saying? Because it was the kiosk. I was working for the kiosk owned by RadioShack. Then we went out of that store into another store, then went into the mall. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was the same thing. And what else? Coca-Cola, man, I failed the drug test. I failed the drug test, man, but I mean, I guess it was just meant to be, because after I failed the drug test, I ain't never looked back, and I done popped off in music since.
Now, you did work at Bojangles one day. I know that wasn't very long, but are you sick of their food?
Man,
or not enough time you worked there to be sick of it?
I ate there today. I ate there today, but yeah, I mean, I don't really eat it like that. So when I do eat Bojangles, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I eat Bojangles if it's nothing else around, but it ain't nothing. I just be like, man, I want Bojangles today. I mean, nah.
Are you sick of Coca-Cola because you work there?
Yep, no lie. I done had everything they done brought out. Every new drink they done brought out, I had. You know what I'm saying? So I was drinking too much, basically too much. That's probably why I had gained a little weight at one point in time. I was drinking too much soda, too much sugar and stuff.
If you could, would you ever consider owning something like a Bojangles or no?
Probably. I mean, well, yeah, I can have my own chain, or I might buy into a franchise that's, you know what I'm saying, that might be doing well or something like that. So yeah, but not Bojangles specifically.